Hey everybody, this is D Hunter, bringing another action figure review. Today, we're going to look at the third-party, unauthorized, unlicensed Cyber Knight. Now this is basically an Arkham Knight figure of the actual Arkham Knight from Extreme Toys. I ordered this thing from 5K Toys, and it finally arrived today. So let's take a look at the packaging. As you see, Extreme Toys. Here he is on the front. One side is the Arkham Knight. The other side is sort of his Red Hood look. One side of the package, 1/12 scale, Cyber Knight, Azure Whisper, Crimson Kill. Other side, same thing. At the back, you can see the Arkham Knight post up, Extreme Toys. At the bottom, a little more description. No barcode because it's a third-party unlicensed figure. There's also a Batman figure coming out soon, so I should have him in the next couple days. So with no further ado, let's open him up. And I did end up getting two of these figures, one of which is going to be Arkham Knight on my Arkham Knight shelf, and the other one is going to be Red Hood on my Jason Todd and Red Hood shelf. Alright, now that this figure out of the package, here he is with all his accessories laid out. He comes with quite a bit of stuff. We have the Arkham Knight rifle, a laser sword, then some alternate red pieces as you turn him into the Red Hood version for his shoulder pads, bicep armor, knee pads, and even a different chest plate. He has 8 alternate hands, totaling 10 interchangeable hands. He's got the Arkham Knight head, Red Hood head, and then a Jason Todd head. He also has the 2 pistols. But before we take a look at all that, let's talk about and check out the actual figure. So this is the Arkham Knight, loosely based off the video game Arkham Knight. Now in the video game, the Arkham Knight was Jason Todd, but in the comics, the Arkham Knight is a completely different character. It's actually a female named Astrid Arkham, and that's what I'm going to be using mine for. In my action figure world, the Arkham Knight and then Jason Todd and Red Hood are completely different characters. I prefer it that way. So, this is a Mezco 1/12 collective cloth soft goods figure with a bunch of hard armor on top. It's by Extreme Toys and it's a third-party unauthorized figure. I think it looks pretty good, so let's take a look. Start with his face here. We have a lot of blue. I think even more than the game. We have the bat ears on the side, if that's what you want to call those things. Kind of the Arkham Knight logo on the chest, as well as on the shoulder armor. It does have cloth soft goods, not really on the top part, but on the bottom, at least his pants, with all this armor on top of it. Can't really tell if it's single jointed or double jointed elbows. It looks like double jointed, although they don't go in much farther than a single joint. Arkham Knight logo. Different interchangeable parts all over him. He's got this belt with a bunch of different magazines, grenades, pouches, etc. More grenades strapped to the side of his leg. You can see the red, the white, and the black camo on his pants. That is signature to the Arkham Knight Militia. Armored shins. As a whole, it looks pretty good. Not exactly accurate to the game. They took their own liberties, and I'm cool with that. And a closer look at his face, helmet, and head sculpt. It's a lot of blue, but I still think it looks pretty good. They definitely got the ears right. They are on point. And then, here's the figure, broken down as far as he can go, with all of his removable parts detached. A lot of interchangeable parts, a lot of duplicates with different colors. Now let's check out his accessories. And let's start off with his hands. So let's take a look at his hands. He has a total of 10 of them, 5 right hands, and 5 left hands. So here he is, with his first pair of hands. These are his fists. And then, his second pair of hands. This is a pair of gripping hands with trigger fingers for his guns. And here's his third pair of hands. This is a pair of gripping hands with a thumbs up. Looks like he's actually giving you a thumbs up. Not sure why they would include that hand with the Arkham Knight. Definitely not in character for him. And then another pair of gripping hands with a thumb sticking out. This is presumably to hold his sword, but once again, kind of looks like he's giving you the thumbs up. And here's his final pair of hands. This is a pair of default hands. They would look good relaxed at his sides. Now let's check out his heads. He has the Arkham Knight head, the Red Hood head, and then the unmasked Jason Todd head. Here he is with his first head. This one has the Arkham Knight helmet on. And here's his second head. This one has the Red Hood helmet on. And then his third head. This one has the unmasked Jason Todd head. Now this is not a Jason Todd like I've ever seen before, and he seems to have some silver streaks in his hair. Jason Todd would not be old enough by any stretch of imagination to have silver streaks or gray in his hair. Jason Todd might be like 22 or 24 years old in the events of Arkham Knight. Now let's look at the Arkham Knight rifle and the Arkham Knight pistols. In the game, these two pistols would combine together to make the rifle. You can see the two different handles here as they connect together. Paint job's pretty good. It's gray, but it has sort of a silver wash on it. Thin barrel there, sort of butt there that goes under his arm. And then either one of these pistols also has a pretty good paint job. Nice wash with the silver and the black mixed together. It looks good, and you can see where the two of them will fit in to combine to make the rifle. Here's the Arkham Knight holding his rifle, and my god, be careful putting that in there. I already snapped the butt off of the other one, which still looks okay, and I can glue it back together, but man, is that thing fragile back there. He's definitely supposed to have the butt of it on the inside of his arm, and that puts a little pressure on it. There's no way I would even try to turn it and have him hold it with two hands, as I would like to do. And well, since I already messed up this gun, here he is holding it with one hand on the trigger and one hand supporting it at the end. I'm telling you, if you try to get this pose with a gun, it will most certainly break. Very fragile, not designed well, and not able to sit under his arm like it should. Well, now that that gun is glued and drying and going to be super fragile for the rest of its life, let's continue on with the rest of the accessories. Here he is, holding the Arkham Knight pistols. He can hold them in a wide variety of different poses. Now let's look at his sword. I believe this is a laser sword similar to a lightsaber, and I don't know, tell me if I'm missing something. The amazing Yamaguchi Red Hood Arkham Knight also came with a laser sword. You definitely didn't use anything like this in the game. Is there something I'm missing? Was it in some concept art or some pre-game stuff? Maybe some, I don't know, part of the game I'm forgetting. Pretty sure it's not. It's got a decent looking handle here, and then this red semi-transparent blade. Like I said, tell me if I'm missing something, but I don't know why there have been more than one Arkham Knight figure to come with this accessory. Here's the Arkham Knight holding his sword. He can hold it with one hand or with two hands. This is about the best you're going to get with two hands. Pretty much a useless pose. And somehow this little knife got left out. He has a knife with a twisted, jagged blade. Looks pretty good. And here's the Arkham Knight holding that knife. And now for his alternate look. Of course, we have the Arkham Knight look, and then we have his sort of Red Hood look. Replaces a lot of the blue with red, which makes sense. It's Red Hood. So here's this figure with all the blue Arkham Knight parts. We have the blue helmet, the blue chest plate. We have the sort of Arkham Knight logo shoulder pads, the blue bicep armor, and then the blue, not exactly knee pads, but stuff in front of the shin armor. And then here he is with all the Red Hood parts. Red Hood's helmet, the red shoulder armor, red bicep armor, red bat symbol on the chest, and then the red, like I said, not exactly knee pads, but areas in front of the shin. Now, two big problems with the alternate version I have. And this would be a problem whether he's in the Arkham Knight look or the Red Hood look. Number one, it was missing a magnet on the inside here, so I couldn't swap that without using some sort of adhesive. And then number two, we have this sort of armored part here in his forearm. It's got the red in the back. This one here came with two right pieces. This one has the red on the front, and it just doesn't look as good. I mean, it works okay for Red Hood because he's red, but then you have one with the armor on the front, one with the red thing on the back. Just kind of annoying. And if you pull out the other version, he's symmetrical. They're both on the back. They both have the large side of the armor on the outside. So he clearly came with two right pieces of the forearm armor and missing the magnet on the left shin armor. Definitely some quality control issues here. And then here are both versions together. This is exactly why I got two of them. One to use the Arkham Knight, and one to use as Red Hood. Now, the quality control issues I mentioned suck. It is inexcusable to have quality control issues on such an expensive figure. I pointed out all the flaws, but there are plenty of things I do like about these guys as well. But just bask in the fact that if you order this guy, you might have some problems like I did. Now that I've taken a pretty good look at the figure and his accessories, now for his height. From bottom to the top of his head, standing right about 6.7 inches tall, which could translate to 17 centimeters. If you go to the top of the ears, about 6.8 inches tall. Pretty good size if you ask me. And now for his articulation. Starting with his head, of course you can rotate from side to side. He can look up about that far, down about that far. He does have articulation at the top of the neck and at the bottom of the neck. He can tilt his head from one side to the other. Shoulders, ball joint, goes out full 90 degrees, up, down, around, all the good stuff. He's got a bicep cut inside of there. I believe double jointed elbows, but they only go in about this far. He's got traditional wrists. They're on sort of a ball joint. They can rotate, not really anything else. In his torso, feels like it's one solid piece, not really getting any movement there. His waist, he's got a ball joint rotate around, forward and back. Legs, complete as a splits. Pants, maybe a little bit baggy, but it's good. It allows you to stretch out and totally get the splits going on there. He's got thigh rotation. Legs go forward about that much. Back, not much at all. Double jointed knees, they go all the way back. A little bit of rotation here, I think it's just the armor moving on top of the body. His ankles, forward and back. Rotate, tilt, rock. And that will lead me to another complaint about these guys. There are all these swappable parts, and I appreciate the different looks and different display options, but as you mess around with this guy, you can easily just sort of knock some of the stuff off. Most notably, the shoulder armor. Not really a big deal, but there's just so many different things you can do with this guy. Those are the easy things to knock off. I mean, that's not going to come off. That doesn't really come off too much. The head's on there pretty securely. Shoulder pad is just a little bit delicate. Here's a look at the Arkham Knight in the streets of Gotham, surrounded by his militia. And then here's a look at my Arkham Knight shelf. Several different Arkham Knight figures, surrounded by the Arkham Knight militia. Some guns and images in the background. And here's a look at the Arkham Knight and Red Hood facing off in an old abandoned building. A closer look at both the Arkham Knight and Red Hood. Now let's check them out, next to some other action figures. Starting off with some other Extreme Toys figures. Then we'll check them out with some other Arkham Knight figures and some other Jason Todd Red Hood figures. Here they are, next to the Extreme Toys Arkham Knight Batman. We have the Extreme Toys Arkham Knight, the Extreme Toys Arkham Knight Batman, and the Extreme Toys Arkham Knight Red Hood. This is the entire collection, and they're probably not going to be making any more, but still pretty cool to have these Mezco 112 style figures. Let's check them out with a couple different companies that made both the Arkham Knight and Jason Todd as Red Hood from the Arkham Knight. Here are the two Extreme Toys versions in the middle, next to the amazing Yamaguchi Arkham Knight and Red Hood on the left and right. Then, with the DC Direct versions of the Arkham Knight and Red Hood. So several companies have made Arkham Knight figures, and even more companies have made Red Hood figures, but these are the only three companies that made both the Arkham Knight and then the Arkham Knight as he's sort of transitioning into Red Hood at the end of the game. Now let's check out the Arkham Knight with some other Arkham Knight figures. Here's the Extreme Toys Arkham Knight, next to the amazing Yamaguchi Arkham Knight. And here, next to Mattel DC Multiverse, Injustice 2 Armored Batman. Although it's not the Arkham Knight, it definitely gives off Arkham Knight vibes. Look at that helmet. Then, next to the DC Direct Arkham Knight. And now, with the McFarlane DC Multiverse Arkham Knight. Here are all of my Arkham Knight figures. And yes, technically that Batman is not an Arkham Knight figure, but he looks close enough that I keep him on my Arkham Knight shelf. Here's this new Arkham Knight figure, next to my entire collection of Arkham Knight militia. Most of these I customized many years ago. Most of these are a little bit larger than the Extreme Toys Arkham Knight. Really happy to have my Arkham Knight militia to support my Arkham Knight figure. And now for the Extreme Toys Red Hood version. Here's the Extreme Toys Red Hood, next to the amazing Yamaguchi Red Hood. And here he is, next to the DC Direct version. And here would be all three versions of Arkham Knight as Red Hood that I have. Now let's check him out, next to some other Jason Todd and Red Hood figures. Here he is, next to all of my McFarlane DC Multiverse Red Hood figures. And here he is, next to all of my DC Direct and DC Collectibles Jason Todd and Red Hood figures. Then, with my Mattel Red Hood figures. And now, with a Mafex Jason Todd as Hush figure. Here he is, with the amazing Yamaguchi Red Hood. And here he is, next to a custom Red Hood that I made many, many years ago before anybody else gave us a proper version. Then, next to both a 6 and 7 inch scale Jason Todd and civilian attire customs that I made. Red Hood took his name and identity by sort of mocking the Joker, which is one that killed Jason Todd. Here he is, next to a couple of Joker as Red Hood figures. Before the Joker fell to that vat of chemicals, he was doing a crime as Red Hood. And finally, here he is, next to the DC Direct, Capula, New 52 Red Hood gang. And since these guys are 1/12 scale cloth soft goods Mezco style figures, here they are next to several different Mezco Batman figures. And here they are next to several different Mezco Batman Rogues. The Arkham Knight fits right in scale and style wise. Then, next to several more miscellaneous Mezco figures. Now let's check them out, next Next to some action figures from different various companies, so we can see how they fit in, both scale and style-wise, in case you don't know which ones you can mix them with. Since they're extreme toys, they're the 6-inch scale. I'm going to start off my comparisons with some of the smaller action figure lines I collect, and work my larger. Here they are, next to some Jazzwares Fortnite figures, and some SH Figure Arts action figures. And now, with some Hasbro Marvel Legends, and some Mafex figures. Here they are, next to a jar of salsa. And here they are, with both some Mattel and Mezco DC figures. Then, with some Jazzwares and Mattel wrestling figures. And now, with some NECA and some DC Direct figures. Next, with some DST or Diamond Select toys, and some Jakks Pacific wrestling figures. And finally, with some McFarlane DC Multiverse figures. So overall, these are some cool figures. I do like the way the Arkham Knight looks. I love the scale, fits in perfect with the Mezco collection. The cloth soft goods and the plastic hard armored stuff. It all looks pretty nice together. Now, of course, I mentioned a plethora of quality control issues, really only affecting one of my two figures. And I decided to keep the Arkham Knight as my better of the two figures because that's the look I was much more excited for. And then the Red Hood figure, he does have some issues. Now, the issues as far as quality control goes, he has two of the right forearm armors, and that really sucks. He's missing the magnet on his left knee pad. Those are the only real quote-unquote quality control issues, but with an expensive figure, you shouldn't have any of those at all. In addition to that, some of the parts fall off easily with the magnets. That's not really a big deal, just gotta be kind of careful. The butt of his rifle breaking off, that was quite unfortunate, but could probably be avoided if you're really careful. But you shouldn't have to be so careful that you can barely put the gun into his hand and make it look good. As a whole, I like the figures. It's really cool to add Arkham Knight to my cloth soft goods 6-inch scale collection. He fits in perfect with the Mezco stuff. The articulation, excellent. Sculpt and paint job, excellent. Accessories, plentiful. Gun thing frustrates me, and I don't know why his laser sword. If I were to rate these guys, I want to give them an 8 out of 10, but some of the issues definitely make me drop this down to a 7 out of 10. I definitely prefer the Arkham Knight look, but it's cool to be able to have sort of two figures in one. Of course, that causes me to buy two figures, but I'm happy to add this guy to my Arkham Knight shelf, and this other one to my Jason Todd and Red Hood shelf. So this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked the video, press like below. If you have anything you want to say about the video, add to the comment section. If you want to see additional action figure reviews from me, press subscribe. I do appreciate when you do that. Once again, this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll talk to you guys real soon.